I've been with my girlfriend for almost 6 years now. We started dating when we were both 16, just dumb high school kids trying to figure out what a relationship even meant. The beginning wasn't smooth. How could it be? We were young and clueless, fumbling through arguments and misunderstandings. Looking back, I don't think either of us truly knew how to be in a relationship back then. But over time, we grew up. We learned how to communicate, how to support each other, and how to work together as a team. Those early struggles made us stronger, and now at 22, we've built something I'm proud of. We rarely fight, and when we do, we resolve things quickly. We share the same core values, the same long-term goals. Honestly, I've been feeling like I hit the jackpot with her. Lately, we've been talking about taking a big step, moving across the world together. It's been exciting, planning this new chapter of our lives. We've spent hours researching jobs, housing, visas, everything. I couldn't help but feel like this move symbolized how far we'd come as a couple, how ready we were to take on the world together. Everything felt perfect, or as perfect as life could be, until she dropped a bombshell on me. It started a few nights ago. We were sitting on the couch, going over some plans for the move. She seemed distracted, her smile not quite reaching her eyes. I asked if something was bothering her, and she hesitated before saying, "There's something I need to tell you before we take this next step." I felt a knot form in my stomach. She sounded serious, like whatever she was about to say wasn't going to be easy to hear. I braced myself, thinking maybe it was about the move. Maybe she was having second thoughts or worried about leaving her family. But what came next completely blindsided me.
She started by reminding me of the early days of our relationship, back when we were just kids. She said, "You remember how rocky things were at the start, right? How we were still figuring things out?" I nodded, unsure where this was going. Then she told me about a night, just a month into our relationship, when she got really drunk at a party. There was a guy there, a family friend, and they started flirting. She admitted that things escalated. They didn't kiss, but they talked about it, and even decided not to, because it would be too far. Then, later that night, they cuddled and fell asleep together. I just sat there stunned. My mind was racing. Why was she telling me this now, after all these years? She said seeing him recently at a funeral brought the memory back, and she felt like she had to come clean before we made such a big commitment. She kept apologizing, saying how much she regretted it, how she's grown since then, and how much she loves me. But all I could think was, why now? Why would she tell me this now? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. 6 years together, and she chose now, right as we're planning to uproot our lives and move across the world, to tell me something like this. My heart was pounding, and my mind was racing. I didn't even know where to begin processing it. "Why are you telling me this now?" I finally managed to ask, my voice barely steady. She took a deep breath and said, "Because it felt wrong to keep it from you, especially with everything we're planning. I didn't want to start this new chapter with a secret between us." I wanted to yell, to tell her how unfair it was to drop this on me now, but I held back. I just sat there staring at her, trying to wrap my head around everything she had said. She cheated, or at least it felt like cheating, even if it was just a month into our relationship. And even though she didn't kiss him, she flirted, she cuddled, and she knew it was wrong. "Did you even think about me that night?" I asked, my voice sharper than I intended. She flinched but didn't look away. "I was drunk and stupid. I wasn't thinking. But the moment it happened, I felt awful. I knew I had messed up. That's why I never let anything like that happen again. I swear to you, it was just that one time." Her words hung in the air, but they did little to comfort me. The fact that she hadn't done anything like it since didn't erase what she had done. And the worst part? She had hidden it for 6 years. 6 years of building trust, of believing we were on the same page, only to find out that the foundation of our relationship was cracked from the very beginning. "What am I supposed to do with this?" I asked, my frustration boiling over. "You've kept this from me for 6 years, and now you expect me to just, what, forgive you? Pretend it doesn't matter?" She shook her head, tears streaming down her face. "No, I'm not asking you to pretend it doesn't matter. I know it matters. I wanted to be honest with you before we move forward. I thought you deserved to know." I couldn't even look at her. Every time I tried, all I could picture was her and that guy, cuddled up on some couch, laughing at some stupid movie, while I was probably at home, clueless. I thought you were different, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. I thought we had something real. And now I don't even know who you are. She reached out to touch my hand, but I pulled away. The pain was too fresh, too raw. Please, she begged, don't let this ruin what we've built. I love you. I've always loved you. This was a stupid mistake I made when I was 16. It doesn't change how I feel about you, how I've felt about you all these years. But it did change something, for me at least. It changed the way I saw her, the way I saw us. It put a crack in the perfect picture I had of our relationship, and I wasn't sure if that crack could ever be repaired. I stood up, needing space to think. I need time, I said, turning toward the door. She started to cry harder. I understand, she said through her sobs. Take all the time you need. Just, please don't give up on us. As I walked out of the apartment, the weight of her confession settled on my chest like a stone. I had no idea what I was going to do. I spent the next few days completely on edge. I couldn't sleep, I couldn't eat, and I couldn't stop replaying her confession in my head. It felt like my entire reality had shifted. 6 years of love, trust, and planning for the future, all thrown into question by a drunken night and a secret she had kept buried for so long. I wanted to talk to someone about it, but who? None of my friends or family knew her the way I did, and I didn't want to paint her as a villain. She wasn't a bad person, I knew that. But she had made a choice, a selfish, reckless choice, and now I was left to deal with the fallout. I stayed at a friend's place for a while, telling him I just needed space because of work stress. He didn't ask too many questions, which I appreciated, but even in the silence I couldn't escape my thoughts. Was this just a stupid mistake from a 16-year-old kid who didn't know any better? Or was it a sign of something deeper, something broken in our relationship from the very start? I kept going back and forth, trying to convince myself it didn't matter. After all, people change, right? She had been nothing but loving and loyal for the past 6 years. Shouldn't that count for something? But every time I tried to let it go, I remembered the way she had described that night. The flirting, the cuddling, the way they talked about kissing and even decided not to, because it would be too far. It wasn't a random accident. It was a choice, a series of choices, really, and each one felt like a betrayal. Then there was the timing. Why now? Why not tell me years ago, when it happened, or even when we started getting serious? Why wait until we were planning to move across the world together to drop this bombshell? It felt calculated, like she had waited until I was so invested in our future that I wouldn't have a choice but to forgive her. When I finally went back to our apartment, she looked like she hadn't slept either. Her eyes were puffy and her face was pale. She didn't say anything at first, just looked at me with a mixture of hope and fear. I've been thinking, I said, breaking the silence. She nodded, waiting for me to continue. I love you, I admitted. But this isn't something I can just brush off. You hid it from me for 6 years. 6 years, and you didn't say a word. Do you know how that makes me feel? She nodded again, tears streaming down her face. I know I hurt you, she said softly, and I'll do anything to make it right. Anything. But could she? Could anything she did erase the doubt that had settled in my mind? I wasn't sure. I need time, I said finally. I don't know if I can move forward with this, not right now. Maybe not ever. She started to sob, and it took everything in me not to reach out and comfort her. But I couldn't. Not yet. Maybe not ever. I'm going to stay with a friend for a while, I added. I need to figure out what I want. She didn't try to stop me. She just stood there crying as I packed a bag and walked out the door. As I left, I felt a mix of emotions: anger, sadness, betrayal, and love. I wasn't sure where this would lead or if our relationship could survive. But for now, I knew one thing. I needed space to figure out if I could ever truly forgive her, and if I even wanted to. If you found this story relatable or thought-provoking, share your thoughts below. For more real-life dilemmas and heartfelt narratives, don't forget to subscribe.